Good morning. Today we're going to go over some geometry and talk about types of lines and how you can classify triangles by their sides as well as by their angles. So for starters, let's go over a little bit of vocabulary. We'll start with parallel. So a parallel is two lines that will look similar to this, that will never cross paths. They'll never intersect, or they'll always stay going straight. So how you can write a parallel line, this is line A and B and points C and D. An example of how you can write it would be line AB is parallel to line CD, like that. I'm sorry, my screen's a little fuzzy. Okay, so after that we have intersecting. Lines. Now an intersecting line would look similar to this. Okay? So as you can tell right here, this is an acute angle and an obtuse angle. And that's important, and I'll tell you why later. So we've got some points here. So an intersecting line is where two lines cross points. How you could write it is if this was AB and CD, would be line A and B and line CD intersect at point, we can call that E, like that. Okay, so that's how you would write those. Next you have your perpendicular. Now when a perpendicular is when two lines, they can cross, or sometimes they just stop at the midway point. What makes them perpendicular, they're also intersecting, but the perpendicular lines have a 90-degree angle. So how you can write this in an equation form, we can do AB and CD. We can do line AB is perpendicular to line CD. And that would be how you would write that out. Now I have some papers. Now that we've already talked a little bit about vocabulary, we can do like a little thing. So this, it's called name that figure. And so it would be either A, parallel, B, intersecting, or C, perpendicular. Now if you remember what I originally said, parallel lines will never cross. And as you can see, these two lines would never cross each other. So that means these ones would be A, parallel lines. And then we have this name that figure. So A would be parallel, B would be intersecting, and C would be perpendicular. Now if you can remember, this one has an obtuse angle, and down here has an acute angle. And what can we remember about that would be intersecting lines have those types of angles. Now we have this. Name that figure. Okay, So A parallel, B intersecting, or C perpendicular. This one would be perpendicular because it creates the right angle. But on this one, you've got your A parallel, B intersecting, or C perpendicular. Now it also says select all that apply because there's more than one answer to this. As you can remember in the notes we just had, two lines crossing are intersecting lines. But when it creates the right angle, it's also perpendicular. Okay. So now we can talk about how we can classify some triangles by their sides, and then we can go over how to classify them by the actual angle themselves. So if I drew a triangle like this, and I asked you, how would you classify this triangle? Well, these tick marks all mean that it's representing that the lines are the same length. So that means it would be an equilateral triangle. Sorry. Okay, so an equilateral triangle means they have 3 equal sides. Okay? Now, if I drew an angle like this, now what does that mean? So the tick marks again mean that those two sides are equal, so it has 2 equal sides, which makes it an isosceles. Okay? And an isosceles triangle has 2 equal sides. Now let's say I drew a triangle like that. Now there's no tick marks because no angles are the same. Now what that means is it's a scalene triangle, and they have no equal sides. Yeah. Now we can talk about how to classify triangles by their angles versus their sides. So by angles, so if I did this, now these angles are all acute angles. They're less than 90 degrees. So this would be an acute triangle. Because it has 3 acute angles. Okay. If I drew an triangle like this, that is a right triangle. And how you know that is because this it has at least one 90-degree angle. Not at least, it will have one 90-degree angle, I'm sorry. Okay, and now if we draw this triangle, this is an obtuse angle. And how you know that is it's more than 90 degrees. So that means it would be an obtuse triangle. Because it has one obtuse angle. Thank you.